Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I am your host, Teri Wellbrock. Excited to have with me here today Elisabeth-Ann Pitt, who is here to talk about her coaching business. So welcome, Elisabeth.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you and learn all about this. So I just said it to you, and then, menopause brain, it went out of my head. Alignment over perfection. And so a lot of what you talk about, when I looked at your website and you sent this beautiful proposal to me, which was really cool. And yeah, about alignment. So talk to me. And I saw somewhere that you call this, your business is your baby. And so, I get it. And so talk to us about this baby of yours.
Okay. Well, I just launched this past February, so I'm going on about 6 months. And it's been a journey. Starting a business is a lot of work. But it's also been my dream for so many years. I just turned 26 yesterday, so it's not like that old. But I think that when you grow up younger and you already have that hunger in your tummy to help women, I just had to figure out the way that I wanted to do that. So I knew that I wanted to do that type of work, but I didn't really know how I was going to do it. And then I started off in the direction, my business at first was for women who struggle with body image and self-esteem, and any issues they had related to food, and how they felt about their appearance and how they related to the world in consideration of that. But then as I developed my program in the last year, I kind of figured out that everything that was in my program could help so many more women that weren't necessarily just struggling with body image issues. And the tools that I offer in my it's my alignment program, basically. The name it is alignment over perfection. That's the theme of my business and my work. But my course is called Alignment Essentials, right? So I changed the direction a little bit because I knew that the tools that I was sharing in my program were really powerful, and they can be applied to so many situations and so many areas of a woman's life. And I just wanted to open the doors to that and be able to touch more lives and connect with more women on it a really deep level. I didn't want to keep it just to that. I don't know, I just wanted to open it up, basically, right. Because alignment is really touches every area of a woman's life. And I realized that every tool and every resource and every practice that I was sharing that could help a woman become herself, develop self-trust, and find alignment with herself for her body image and for her self-esteem could be applied to every area also.
Oh, sure.
And yeah. And personally, I experienced that for myself. The reason why I began my business with body image in mind in the first place is because I had an episode of anorexia in high school. I had one of my best friends. I learned later that she had suffered with bulimia for years. So that was the beginning of that interest for me to work with those women. And then just as I developed my coaching practice in my program, I just realized that I could help so many more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how alignment kind of, because in my life, that's what I've been working on all this time, was alignment and figuring out how I could approach every area of my life while feeling entirely like myself, while pursuing what I wanted, and while keeping in mind how I wanted to feel in those areas. And so, yeah, that's how alignment kind of came to be. And I'm just, because I know how powerful it is, and I know that it creates such big shifts in our lives, and I know that so many women can use that type of work. So that's really why I made it my kind of priority.
Right. And one of the things that I saw, and I wrote it down, was that you had written to me was about being authentic and aligned. And I love that because it's really powerful to me, because one of my dearest friends in the world, we had these, I love our deep talks. And one of the things we talk about is authenticity. And I'm that person that, like, I put my story out there, my trauma history, all that I've gone through. And there's just an authentic connection that happens with others who are struggling with maybe the same or similar history. And so I think what you're saying, with alignment, what you're teaching, reaching a broader scope than just those women who have maybe struggled with body image, that you're giving these tools, because how many women are struggling to be authentic and not have to wear the masks that we're told to wear by society, and to really put our truths out there and put our real self out there. So yeah, that's a beautiful gift to be able to offer people, women. Yeah.
Thank you. I just had goosebumps as you were saying it. That's a good sign.
That is a really good sign. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just, I think that for myself, there were so many moments in my life that I would have needed those tools and those practices and those resources to be able to tune into that inner voice of mine, and to trust my intuition, and to trust the knowledge that I had within me. And as I learned to tap into that and to trust it over all the noise and over everything that everybody was telling me I should be and I should do or I should have, I kind of gained this like inner stability, like an inner certainty and safety in who I was and what I wanted. And so it's allowed me to navigate my life in a way that so that it reflects me entirely, and it reflects everything I want. And every day I show up in every situation being myself entirely. And that is the authenticity, and that's the goal. Because every moment that we show up, every like word that we say that we don't mean, everything that we do, whether like it's a conversation, when you say yes and you mean no, it's all those little things that if you're out of alignment, you'll feel it. And then when you go into those moments into alignment, and you trust how you're feeling, and you trust that intuition, and then that builds up, and eventually all those little moments culminate to like a life that's just looks and feels like you.
Yes, absolutely. And beautifully put. And, as you talked, I thought about two things popped into my head. One, that what a gift I think you've been given, however you came into this sense of being, because my son, I have 3 kids, and my oldest is 25. And so when you said, you just turned, 26, and so very similar in age, and, he's done so much work on himself. And when I talk to him, I say, John, you are so much further along. I didn't figure all this out until my 40s, and so to be able, I think, to have, people who are in their 20s, such as yourself and my son, to be able to be connected in learning about being your authentic self and helping others in your age bracket, or, obviously all people. But I just think it's so powerful and what a beautiful gift, again, to be 25, 26 years old and to be living authentically. I give you huge kudos for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Really cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of a automatic thing in the business of coaching, I guess, because I did training to like learn all of that, and it's a lot of inner work that happens. So I think that's probably just because I've been so into it for the last years that I get to feel this way at 25.
Yeah.
26 now since yesterday.
Right.
But the thing that I love is that because I get to feel this way at 26, I get to share all that with
Yeah.
women who are of any age.
Yeah.
Like, I have had 2 clients, and they were in their 40s, right? And I have people in my life that are of any age, like, my mom. She's just turned 50. One of my like best friends is 21. So there's, and in every in all of those lives, like my clients' lives and my mother and my one of my best friends, I can tell that they need that's what they need. They need that self-trust, and they need to learn to navigate life in a way that honors how they feel and honors how they want to feel,
Yeah.
But I can't coach people that are in my family and my friends, because that's like a kind of a conflict of interest. It's kind of a but I can still tell that, you know across like different generations and different, like wherever you live, we all have like the common goal, and that's to be able to feel like ourselves and to be able to show up and go for what we want,
Sure.
and experience a nice like daily life with that has ease and peace and freedom, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
I
the
get it.
goal. Yeah.
And that's part of my message to people as well. When I give presentations, or in my blog and in this podcast, is that no matter what your journey has been, you are allowed to have this gift filled with tranquility and joy. um, Obviously you have to do the healing work or the alignment work, or whatever it is you need to do. But yeah, that it belongs to all of us.
Yeah.
We are all worthy of having that life you said, of just peace. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So I
Yeah.
want to ask you one of my favorite questions, that I love asking all of my podcast guests, only because I love the answer. So if you could meet anyone in the world, dead or alive, to help you with your continued journey of alignment and helping others, who would it be?
Oh my God.
This is why I love this question.
If I could meet anyone in the world, dead or alive, someone who could help me with my journey, oh
Yeah.
my God,
Either
Byron
personal
Katie.
or professional or both.
Byron Katie.
Okay.
Definitely. I could like live in her house. I just that would be my dream. It's on my list of goals, um to go to her 9-day school and to hopefully like be able to be trained by her. Do you know of Byron
I
Katie?
do not. You got my interest
No.
peaked. Now I'm going to go, when I put this together and do all the editing, I'm going to be Googling away. So,
Oh, wow. I think that if I could give one tool, if I could give like one thing to someone, that would have the power to change their entire lives and change how they feel on a daily basis, it would be the work of Byron Katie. And that's the work is what it's called, what she does, what she teaches. And it's a series of 4 questions and like a process of turnarounds after that. Um, and she's and I learned of that tool in my training, my coach training, and it completely shifted like how I relate to my thoughts and how my thoughts affect my feelings, and it's like the best way to learn about thought work, and it's just amazing. And when I learned about her, I just bought all her books and I listened to like all of the podcasts that she was on, and I watch every interview that I see that she's on, because she has like a way of seeing like the truth in what someone's saying, and being able to lead them and through the questions so that they can be freed of their suffering.
That's beautiful. Well, and
Yeah.
I'm always looking for ways to, I'm that person. I read everything and get my hands on, so I will most certainly check her out. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's, you'll see she's just so beautiful. I think she's in her 70s now. She has like cute like pixie cut. I like a little bit like you, I guess. Is that what you call it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
Didn't want to mess that up.
My spiky do, like my summer do.
Well, I love it. It's like,
Thanks.
that's also what she has. I think it's all white now, but
Yeah.
and she has like piercing blue eyes, and when she speaks, you can just tell that she is the incarnation of authenticity. Like there's nothing about her.
I'm getting authentic just from your description. So
yeah. So definitely.
Awesome. All right. So what about your own healing journey? So you talked a little bit about, going through your own struggle with anorexia. How did you get yourself through, how did you find your way onto the healing path?
Well, I think there are different points that are relevant, that required healing, and some of them I still do, because some things are just, take time, and I think you can understand that. I don't really know where to start, but for my anorexia, I think anorexia was a symptom of me trying to be somebody that I wasn't. So giving myself permission to just be myself and be imperfect, like in my own way, kind of, and just show up as who I am. I think that helped some of that like ease, and then with time, the feelings didn't go away. The behavior did, but the lack of self-confidence and lack of self-esteem took me years after that, pretty much until I found life coaching, which was in 2015.
Okay.
Because it went from anorexia to like being super healthy and just being the gym. I keep saying sometimes like the gym was my second home. And I was just finding many ways to try to be pleasing to the world, but none of that was connected to who I really was. And there were a couple moments leading up to me finding life coaching also. One of them, I was in that period where I was like always just basically outer, just concentrating on my outer appearance and my outer life. And I didn't really pay attention to my inner world. And I was just working out a lot. I was doing what I should. I was studying in university, something I wasn't loving. And I wasn't really surrounding myself with people that knew me for who I really was either. So I just kind of found myself, one day I was like sitting on my bed in my room. It was like the middle of summer, and you're supposed to be like out with your friends or like having like super sweet moments or whatever. And I was just there like alone, like wondering like, what am I supposed to do right now? Because leading up to that, I had just done like what I should, like I do this, and then I do that, and then I do this. And then I just kind of found myself like, well, who am I now? Like, what do I even do? What do I even want to do? What do I like? And I was just completely lost. And I kind of realized that I had just been plugging in like with stuff that kind of made sense, but none of it just really related to who I was, or I never asked myself what I really wanted, I think, or I didn't let myself kind of answer the question. And so that was one of the like critical moments. It sounds small, but when you don't know who you are and what you want, honestly, there's no worse feeling, because it affects everything. It affected what I wanted to do as a career. Like I had no idea at that point. It affected my relationships because I didn't know what kind of people I wanted to surround myself with. And so I was making choices, important decisions in my life based on nothing that was actually based on like who I was or what I wanted.
Right.
I was completely lost. And so I did my best, you know, like we all do. We like choose the least worst option,
Right.
you know, or
Yes.
we decide to do what's going to be least disappointing to other people.
Right.
And we try not to like ruffle too many feathers or be too different or anything like that. And then I did that for a while. And eventually, I moved away from home. I'm away from my hometown, which is Quebec City. So I moved to Montreal, which is 2 hours away. So then I was in an apartment with one of my best friends there for a year. And that's when I found Martha Beck, who is the founder of the teacher that the founder of the school. Yeah, she was the founder of the school I took my training in. She wasn't my teacher though, because she doesn't really teach the classes anymore, but I was taught by amazing coaches. So I found her work. She was writing a column in Oprah magazine. And I found her work, and I found that she was writing books and that she was a life coach. And it just kind of clicked for me. It clicked in the sense that I knew that that was what I needed for myself. And I knew that that was the work that I wanted to do.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
I love it when the planets align like that. And it's that, oh, kind of moment, you know? Yeah.
Yes. That's
Okay.
alignment, basically. You just
Yeah,
said it. The planets
exactly.
align.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know when you're aligned because, I talk about I own a company that, pays the bills. And then I started doing, this healing work and doing the podcast and the blog and finishing up my book manuscript and so forth. And, that's my soul work. That's what I am aligned with. There's just such a passion. You and I had talked a little bit before we started recording, and I said, I love meeting these amazing souls from all over the world, and knowing the podcast is downloaded in 22 countries now. So the messages are getting out to people all over the world. And that most assuredly, I mean, you talk about like heart, soul, like all of it's aligned, and I'm so in touch with it all. And yeah, it's a cool feeling for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
So any myths or facts that you want to talk about as far as people, finding alignment or the work that they're doing with you?
Yes. Actually, I think that the main thing, because alignment, I think if anyone likes the coaching industry or self-improvement or self-help has probably heard the word alignment. It's probably used in different ways. But I want to be clear, at least for myself and for my coaching practice, that alignment doesn't necessarily mean being happy all the time. Because, and it's funny because I just wrote a blog post about this morning, so it's all fresh in my mind. So it's not like a woo-woo like way of just being happy all the time.
Right.
Because life is going to be hard at times, and there's going to be difficult situations and hard conversations to be had, and there's going to be moments that make you feel like sad, angry, or disappointed, or heartbroken. And alignment is just approaching those situations and those conversations and those moments in a way that's connected with who you are. And it's honoring how you feel, right?
Yeah.
So it's having the hard conversation and saying no when you mean no. And it's saying, and it's asking that your needs be met, and it's asking that your feelings be considered. And when you approach those situations and those conversations in alignment, the result and the ending of that situation or the conversation doesn't matter as much as knowing that you honored yourself and that you were true to yourself in that moment, like walking away from it. So I think that it's an approach more than like a happy like mindset kind of
Yes.
thing. And it's very practical. It's not, I think affirmations are probably very powerful. I have no affirmations in my business. Like everything that I do, like all the work that I do on myself with my clients in my program, it's all practical stuff, and it's all different tools and practices that serve to shift how we feel and shift how we think, so that we can approach those situations and those conversations and the important moments in our lives when we have to be true to ourselves and we have to make the choices that reflect who we are, so that we don't end up down the line living a life that doesn't, feel like us or serve
Right.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing
Awesome.
for
Wonderful.
myth. Yeah.
So how do people get a hold of you? How do they work with you?
Well, I have my program, the Alignment Essentials, and it's actually coming out like in the next couple weeks.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And other than that, I have my blog. It's a blog series. It's a weekly blog series about life, womanhood, and alignment. And they're like really short reads, but it's just kind of like a weekly look like into the life of a woman that's figuring it out,
Yeah.
figuring out alignment and how that shows up in everyday life and stuff like that. So, and I love writing, so that's,
I'm
a
right
really nice,
there. Yeah, I got
yeah.
you. And that's on your website, yes?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a really nice offering also, and it's free, and it's available on my website, and it's a quiz basically. But it's also like, so it's a quiz. It's pretty long. It's like an assessment, so it's called Am I in Alignment? So I think that for anyone who's interested in alignment and who's curious about knowing if they're in alignment, what it feels like, what signs they can look for to know if they're out of alignment. So the first part of the quiz is that. There's like questions, multiple choice, and stuff like that. And then the second part is when you get to the results. For every result, I give a coaching exercise. So it's like 6 different tools that people can use to be more in alignment, or figure out what they want, or find out what it would be like to imagine their ideal life, what it would look and feel like. So that's a nice way to get started with alignment and see if someone would like working with me, because every coach has a different approach and a different way of like speaking and sharing information and all that.
Right.
So I think that's a nice way to get started, and it's completely free. And a lot of those tools I use myself, very often. And I learned them in my training. So, it's actually things that I would share in a one-on-one session. So
Wonderful. Well,
yeah.
yeah, very cool. And I was going to say something and it went, well, oh, so your website, for those who are listening, not watching video, but on audio, can you spell it out for us? Because it's Elizabeth, but not a Z.
Yeah. So it's Elisabeth-Ann Pitt. So it's Elizabeth with an S and just ANN, and then Pitt like Brad Pitt.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And it's so funny because my company that I own, we're doing our first radio ad, and so we're getting all of the information together for the marketing person who's handling it, and there's a Z, it's InvisiShield, and so people always want to spell it with an S, like like invisible, and so that was part of our ad, was that, with a Z, like we had to say, visit InvisiShield.com with a Z, doing all this advertising stuff. And I just thought, I was like, that's kind of funny. So
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Is there anything else you want to touch upon before we finish up?
Oh my God. I don't know. There's so many things that I would like to say. I think that if I had one thing to say to like every woman who's listening to your podcast, is that the one thing that will change their life is that if they learn to trust themselves. That's the most important thing, is learn to trust yourself and learn to rely on your intuition, your inner voice, and trust that whatever comes up, there's no mistake in there, and there's no mistake in how they feel, because we tend to like question ourselves and question like, am I right feeling this way? Am I overreacting or anything? And I think that self-trust is the best way to navigate life, I think.
Yeah. What a beautiful message. We have our daughter just turned 13 in May, and wow, do we try to instill that in that kiddo, because I certainly didn't have that instilled in me, but we tell her all the time, you go with what you're feeling, girlfriend, because if you're feeling it, it's on. I mean, you're on target. So great message to send for sure. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure, and we see how we're doing on time. We've still got a little bit of time if you want to talk about some other things.
Okay.
Talk away.
Talk away. All right. Well, what could I say? I can go back to the work if you want.
Sure.
I'll just say a little bit more while we're here.
Yeah.
So the work is a tool, right? And it's 4 questions. So you would take one of your thoughts. So let's say, can you tell me like a limiting belief that you might have about something?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
Just so I can give the example.
I gotcha. All right. So, oh my gosh, something that I have a limiting belief about.
Yeah. Or something that you believe that's kind of like icky.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the things, I think I'm getting ready to go on a trip to see my son, who I talked about earlier, my older son, who lives in Denver. And I'm terrified of heights, and the fact that it's, like in the mountains. And then we made a trip, plans to like go up high. So I'm really doubting myself and my ability to be able to face my fears and do it. And so I'm just having a lot of self-doubt about myself and having to do some serious work on that. So, it's just a self-doubt thing.
Yeah. What is like an example of your fears? Like, do you think, is it the plane that you're afraid of?
No, I'll be okay with that. It's that we're going up, I think, to like 6,500 feet elevation, to Estes Park, which is, north of, up from Denver. And so we're going to this resort, and it's going to be, up in the mountaintops. And it's just that I just get an overwhelming. I dealt with severe panic attacks for 25 years because of my trauma history. Did, a tremendous amount of work doing EMDR. I don't know if you're familiar with EMDR therapy, but it's used a lot with like soldiers returning from war, and it's for post-traumatic stress disorder, in which I had been diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I've done all of this healing work, and now I'm like in this place of, I don't want to do anything to scare myself, because I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back to being panicky. So that's where I am. So
I get it. Yeah.
Self-doubt.
Okay. So let's say like I'll just take an example. Like a thought would be, I won't be able to deal with the stress or something like that. Yeah. So then the work has 4 questions, and I'll just say them like real quick. So the first, there's your dog.
There's Sammy. Sammy, go say hi. Oh, she's laying back down.
That was so cute. Okay, so the first one is it true? And then you would say yes or no, whether like whatever you feel. And then the second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true if you said yes the first time?
Right.
And then the third question is, when you believe the thought, how do you react, or who do you become? Right. And I'm sure you can imagine that right now, when you believe the thought, I won't be able to deal with this stress. It's not even my thought, and I'm thinking it, and I'm not feeling great.
Right. Right.
So you answer the third question in the way that says, well, my stomach feels tight and I feel kind of nauseous. and I'm nervous, and I have sweats and stuff, and
Right.
that's how you would answer that question. And then the fourth question is, who would you be without the thought? So then
No.
you picture yourself in that situation without being able to believe the thought, I won't be able to deal with this stress. So you imagine yourself like up in that mountain, with
Yeah.
your family,
Enjoying
without
the
being,
beautiful views and
yeah,
yes.
without being able to believe, like, I won't be able to deal with this. And then
Right.
you just allow yourself to picture how that would feel. And already it's like, more easy, and
Yeah.
it feels warm, and it's, you're kind of eager because you get to spend time there with your family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that already kind of trains your mind to just wiggle out of the negative feelings that you get from that thought. And then the turnarounds after that, you use the thought and you rephrase it, and then you find examples for it. So I'm just give you an example, like, so I won't be able to deal with this stress would be turned around to, I will be able to deal with this stress. And then you'd find 3 examples of why that's true. Anything that feels, at least truer than the original thought.
So like something that I've already done that has proven to myself that I'm able to deal with it, or
Yeah.
or even just a visual of because I find God's beauty, everywhere, and to be in this mountaintop would just be magnificent. I mean,
Hmm.
truly. I mean, I would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Those are perfect examples. Exactly. So
Okay.
then you kind of approach you feel differently because you begin to think differently. So I will be able to deal with the situation because I
Yeah.
once was able to deal with, X, Y, Z. And then what you just said, and then you do 3 turnarounds. Usually there's like 3 different ways to turn this sentence around depending on how you formulated the phrase. And I swear to you, like, when you're done doing that work, and it's ideal if you do it in writing, it shifts how you feel completely. And it honestly, you're just freed. You're freed
Yeah.
from the stress and from all that. And then you can do it like one thought after the other. And then all that's left are just clean feelings. There's nothing that's caused by fearful thoughts
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And also, it's important for me to tell you that the work is free on thework.com, so anyone can go there. Byron Katie always says that anything that's valuable is available for free on my website. So thework.com, there's like a section with all the resources if anyone wants to do the work there. If you want to try it, there's like sheets, and there's like a little book that's free. And
Where is that again?
thework.com.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. I feel better already. I can't wait to go to Denver. Actually, I'm so excited to see my kid. I can't stand it. So I last saw him at Christmas. He came home for Christmas. So yeah.
Yeah.
Super pumped to see him. He gives the best hugs in the world. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm ready for a John hug.
That's sweet.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure having you here on the air with me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us on the Healing Place podcast. And until next time, remember, be gentle with yourselves. Thanks. Bye-bye.